SN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. The date is 12/16/16, and Trumphoria continues on, but everything that glitters is not Trump. Here is Jason Hartman with us. Jason, welcome back. We haven't talked since the defeat of Hillary Clinton and Trump's victory, what it means for the economy, what it means for all sorts of investments, especially the one near and dear to your heart, real estate. And make sure you stay tuned to the end of this episode, because we have an amazing offer for you. If you're not attending Donald Trump's inaugural ball, one of the numerous ones being held, we've got a consolation prize for you that might not be quite as much fun as that, but maybe highly more profitable. So stay tuned for the end of this broadcast. And Jason, so hey, it's good to talk to you again. We haven't really connected since the election, and so much has been going on.
It's good to be here, Kerry. We've got a lot to talk about today. So you said Trumphoria continues. For some, it's Trumpphobia. So I don't know if it's Trumphoria or Trumpphobia, but we will see, and we'll try and get that clarified in this episode today. Keep in mind that Donald Trump is our first real estate president. Okay, at least in modern times. I don't know of any other real estate presidents. Maybe there was one back in the old days, but Trump is our first real estate president. So I'm pretty bullish on real estate with Trump. And I'm going to tell you, there's a bunch of reasons why, not the least of which is Dodd Frank. And we're going to talk about what Dodd Frank is, what it means to your listeners. This is very, very important. This is going to be an important episode. But hey, it's not all good. I certainly have my concerns about Trump. I've never been a huge supporter. I just know that I was definitely not a supporter of the criminal known as Hillary Clinton. But there is some justice in the fact that she didn't win. So that was good. Trump. Well, yeah, we'll see. Let's dive into this.
Okay, well, if nothing else, he's definitely fun and entertaining to listen to, at least to some of us. To some of you out there, you never know what's going to come out of his mouth or out of his Twitter account. And he's not afraid to take on his enemies or his friends, either one. And he's definitely saying the things that you want to hear, like getting rid of burdensome laws and regulation, like
I love
Obamacare.
That's the best part. Yeah. If he really does that, that'll be great. Yeah.
Hey, well, you know what? The only thing you need to do to get rid of burdensome regulation is put your people in charge of these agencies, put your people in there as the general counsel, pass regulations, publish them in the Federal Register, one big regulation that says the following regulations will be null and void within, I think you have to give 45-day notice or 60-day notice, or maybe it's 90. And then you just give a whole list of these regulations by number in the Code of Federal Rules. And you have 45 days to respond. Everybody responds and bitches, mostly lobbyists. And then they say, all of your comments have been taken under advisement, and we're sticking to what we said, and those regulations will be gone. And guess what happens, Jason? Then they go to court and they try to stop it, but I don't know that there's anything you can really do to stop an agency from revoking regulations. You can definitely stop them from imposing regulations, but actually revoking them, I'm not sure there's anything you can really do.
Hey, I don't know. Trump may turn out to be a phenomenal president. I think he's very bullish for real estate. His whole idea of saying for every new regulation, we're going to repeal 2 or whatever he said like that. I think that's awesome. The more regulations you have, the less free we are. The bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. That's what I always say. The bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. And if you want the individual to be the bigger thing, then you got to make government smaller, because it's one or the other, and that's the way it goes. So let's talk a little bit about real estate investing and what Trump might mean to real estate investors. I first want to talk about Dodd Frank. So what is Dodd-Frank? And Kerry, you know about Dodd-Frank, but not all of your listeners know. And so Dodd-Frank is this ridiculously confusing, burdensome bill with, it's like 2,200 pages. I'm surprised Nancy Pelosi didn't give her famous idiotic line for this one. We got to pass the bill to see what's in it. But it's just hampered real estate for years. I mean, it was created as this just idiotic thing. It's got tons of unintended consequences. There are areas constantly that I see private lenders and banks for sure having to act in a very illogical manner to comply with Dodd-Frank. And this is hampering the real estate market. So combine Dodd-Frank, which I'll go back to that in a moment, with Trump's protectionist trade ideologies, with his border control ideology, and I think that's good. By the way, what country doesn't have the right to control its borders? For God's sake, I can hear them now. Oh, isn't that so racist? No, it's just logical. Countries have the right to control their borders. Get over it. So you combine that with the trade policies, with a possibility of tariffs, even up to 35%, and Trump is inflationary, don't you think? I mean, inflation is the home run for real estate investors. Philosophically, I don't like it, but selfishly, as a real estate investor and for myself and my clients, I love inflation because it really juices the real estate asset class, not just through appreciation, but through what I've talked about before, inflation-induced debt destruction, which we can talk about more. Now, you combine this all with Dodd-Frank, and Trump has talked about repealing Dodd-Frank, he has talked about gutting Dodd-Frank and reducing its impact, and this will mean that the lenders, the reins can be loosened. Now, admittedly, before the mortgage meltdown, before the financial crisis, before the Great Recession, lenders were being far too liberal. They were just being totally stupid in the types of loans they were making. But it has massively overcorrected, Kerry. They're just too tight now. The pendulum needs to swing into the middle, into a logical middle area where financing for real estate deals will be more available than it has been since Dodd-Frank. And if that happens, mountains and mountains of money will come off the sidelines and flow into real estate financing. And you combine that with the general idea of controlling the borders, which will naturally increase wages. You combine that with protectionist trade policy that, listen, philosophically, I don't really agree with it as a libertarian, but it's the playing field's got to be somewhat level. So I don't know. There's some middle ground in the trade policy, and that's certainly a complicated area. But Trump's trade ideas are also inflationary, and they will bring more jobs back to the U.S. So that means wage growth for the first time in decades. Real wage growth, right? This is all very bullish for real estate.
Hey, there's another thing that he's talked about, and that is disposition of federal assets. And who is the biggest landowner in these here United States of America?
Oh, well, that's the federal government. The Bureau of Land Management, the BLM controls a lot of that. Yeah.
They own your new home state of Nevada. I think they own like 80% of it or something. And
that's
Colorado,
ridiculous.
All those Westerns, Utah. I mean, you just go from state to state to state, and they own humongous chunks of the Southwest and the West, and they have no business owning those states. They were never supposed to own huge chunks of these states, and yet somehow over time they just never gave them over to the states, and they never sold them off. And what are they doing with them? These are the reasons we have these humongous forest fires, because the Uncle Sam is a lousy land manager.
Yeah, that's for sure. I agree.
Yeah, so that could be another thing that becomes just a huge, shot in the arm for real estate.
We shall see. I think Trump is very bullish for real estate. It's funny that I don't hear anybody else saying what I say, that Trump is our first real estate president. It seems almost that everybody forgot that Trump is a real estate guy. They sort of think of him now as a wild card politician and the star of The Apprentice, but real estate is his thing. Let's remember that. The Art of the Deal, his book from back in 1988 or 89, and all of the other books. I mean, Trump's a real estate guy. Okay.
Yeah.
It's his favorite asset class. Mine too.
Oh, God, yeah. And if he wants to really start doing something with the deficit, what better way? He's talking about federal asset divestitures. I mean, how much of California do you think the federal government owns, Jason? Give a guess.
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, with all there's so much land that's just not used anywhere.
I'm going to tell you how much.
Okay, tell me.
45.8%.
Oh, my God, that's insane.
Colorado, 35.9%. Now, here's a big one. Idaho. Now, whether you like Idaho or not, there's some pretty places in Idaho. 61.6%. Okay. Montana, 29%. Even Michigan, which has been a state a long time, developed everything, 10% of Michigan. Louisiana, they own 5% of that. Why do they need to own all of this? Nevada, okay, I was off on Nevada. Well,
it's always in the name of protecting the environment, of course.
Oh, yeah, with nuclear testing.
Yes.
Nevada, 84.9%. I mean, these are just, here's one you're going to be shocked by. A state in the east, in the northeast, that you would think, in New England, you would think it's been around for 200 years. Why would the federal government need to own 13.8% of it? I'm talking about New Hampshire.
That's amazing. And that's a very libertarian state.
Right. New Mexico, 34.7.
Okay,
I won't go on,
idea.
but
One
more, and I'll shut my mouth. Right. Oregon, 52.9%, and it goes on and on.
God.
Yeah, so how much is 52.9% of Oregon worth on the free market, Jason? Take a guess.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's just insane. So. Yeah. I think the biggest thing Trump can do, and he's going to do something to it, there's no question he's going to do something to it, is repeal or soften the impact of Dodd Frank. And that will juice the heck out of the real estate market. That is going to allow money to flow into real estate like you would not believe. So much money has been sitting on the sidelines. There is so much money out there looking for yield, whether it be American money or sovereign money or whatever. There is just a lot of money that wants to come into real estate financing, and you can't do it. It's interesting, and this is the unintended consequences of this idiotic legislation like Dodd Frank and so many others, is that it is easier, and you can get a bank to work with you and be more liberal on unsecured debt, like a line of credit, than you can if they give you a mortgage, because Dodd-Frank applies to mortgages. So much of it applies to real estate mortgages because that was such a big part of the financial crisis. And it's just idiotic. Why would it be easier to get a loan for a depreciating asset or just a completely unsecured loan than a real estate loan? That should be the easiest because it's the most secure for the lender. Now, of course, it doesn't feel that way as we watch what happened with all the fraud at Countrywide and so forth, Countrywide Home Loans before the Great Recession. But, it really is the best asset class, no question about it. And if Dodd-Frank is repealed or softened in any way, mountains of cash will come flowing at real estate. And that is going to be a huge game changer. Also, some of the simplification of the tax code. That's another big thing. If Trump is able to decrease capital gains taxes, that has a couple interesting consequences possibly. At first, it might actually cause more property to go on the market because those people that have been holding property, and of course you can always do a 1031 tax deferred exchange and defer your gain from the sale of a property because income property is the most tax favored asset class in America. If you want to save on taxes, own a lot of real estate. But if you don't want to do that and you just wanted to cash out, if you're one of those people, then some of that property will come off the sidelines. And I think this is especially something of concern in the high-priced cyclical markets. Pretty much all of the West Coast markets, the expensive Northeastern markets, and South Florida. Those are the expensive markets that you really got to watch out for, because if he lowers capital gains rates and some of those people decide to liquidate, it will put more inventory on the market and it will soften the market initially. But even though it probably does that initially, and this is not as true in the linear markets where there's not as much pent-up appreciation, if you will, that could be unlocked, right? So there's not as much motivation for people to sell those properties. Capital gains doesn't make that much difference to them because there's not as much gain to speak of. But ultimately, I think it will bring more investors into the market and actually cause prices to increase if capital gains are lower, because people realize, hey, I don't have to, I'm not tied to this asset forever. I have more choices. It increases the velocity of money, both in real estate and any commodity where a lower capital gains rate applies, like stocks, and it increases velocity of money and amount of money flowing into that market ultimately. But at first, especially in high-end cyclical markets, you could see more supply, which will cause a softening in prices. And we're already seeing that in many of those markets now. That's why we don't touch those markets. We don't like those markets. But I want to talk about them because they're important for comparison purposes.
Oh, certainly. Certainly, what you're saying definitely, potentially can come to pass, no doubt. And it's just a matter of Congress cooperating. I thought it was really entertaining to hear Mitch McConnell all of a sudden repelling and shocked at potential deficits that Trumponomics may potentially bring on. And where was this guy, Jason, for the past 8 years, running up $10 trillion? He was literally Obama's lapdog, allowed the guy to run roughshod over him, do anything he wanted. We didn't even have a budget in any of these past 8 years, Jason. And now all of a sudden, the nerve of this guy, he's worried about the deficit. Oh, my God. I mean, that guy is just, that if he really becomes an obstacle, he's going to be removed.
Well, and let's not forget all of these hypocritical, idiotic speeches that candidate Obama gave in 2007 and 2008, where he was talking about how George Bush was being so irresponsible by spending so much and running up the deficit, and how, dangerous that was. And then, Obama's the worst offender in history, right? It's just, you can't make this stuff up. It's absurd.
So I'm starting to sense some hope and change here from you, Jason, speaking of Obama.
Yeah, I think, all things considered, even though I have my reservations, I'm pretty bullish on the economy. I'm pretty bullish on wage growth, real estate prices in linear markets. I'm not talking about cyclical markets. I think those markets are overpriced already. But heck, they'll receive some of this juice too, I'm sure. And I think I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised from an economic perspective, because he's got such a big ego that he cares about his legacy, and his ideas they're America centric, and you're going to see wage growth for the first time in a long time. I mean, look, the Democrats and the Bushes, who are really just Democrats who believe in God. But you repeat
yourself. Repeat.
The Democrats and the Bushes, okay, we'll go back to Clinton here, have sold America down the river with their trade policies and with their immigration policies. They have imported deflation from Mexico. They have imported deflation from China and all of these other trading partners.
China.
Yeah. Yeah, the Trans-Pacific Partnership too. And, that's the new one that Trump is just going to get us out of. And so this has just killed American jobs. I mean, look, philosophically, I believe in the concept of free trade, but you can't have completely open free trade when the trading partner doesn't have OSHA, and they don't have the EPA, and they don't have a million governmental regulations. They don't have ridiculous minimum wage. They don't have union issues. You can't that's got to be more level to trade freely. You just can't do that. It's a sellout for America, and Trump says he's going to fix that, and I believe he will.
Yeah, well, look, the first thing is that new president traditionally, and Milton Friedman was the biggest proponent of this, said that the incoming president's got a 100-day honeymoon to get everything done and to get the bulk of his program through Congress. And Trump is acutely aware of this. I would venture to say that Newt Gingrich is in charge of writing up this program right now as we speak. And I believe that you're right. This is going to get pushed through. I don't believe the Democrats will be able to stop it. And you didn't even mention that Obamacare will be totally done away with.
Well, that's a good thing. My healthcare cost has gone up 35% since Obamacare. It's obviously a disaster. Everyone can see that now.
You'd be surprised who can't. You'd be surprised how many people can't see it. No. But yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you, Jason. It's a unmitigated cluster, you know what, and there's just no stopping this thing. It's a cancer on America. Obamacare really, and it so damaged employment markets. All the so-called unintended consequences that you and I saw a mile away.
They probably intended a lot of them.
Yeah, well, so-called unintended consequences. You and I saw them coming from miles away, but there they were. It was so clear and so obvious. And how could no one see it, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, it was there.
So, Kerry, tell me what you think about Trump and real estate and the economy overall. I mean, do you agree with my sentiment about this stuff? He's going to dismantle Dodd Frank.
Honestly, you've given me a new way of looking at it. The Dodd Frank thing, Dodd Frank is injurious to the country and the world in so many ways that I wasn't even aware of some of the things that you pointed out. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is the bureau that everybody who wears a suit loves to despise because it is just so injurious. That Richard Cordray is just a know-nothing idiot who sticks his nose in everything. It has jurisdiction.
And he's got no accountability. Yeah. I mean, he's like running his own fiefdom. It's incredible. Usually these agencies have a whole bunch of different people that have to, do things jointly, right? Yeah. But he's like a king,
He's the worst. I mean, with that agency, they have jurisdiction over everything they have jurisdiction over. There's already one or more government agencies that already have jurisdiction over it.
Yeah, so it's this double and triple layered system.
So
it's ridiculous.
He has no reason for existing on any level. I mean, forget as a person. I don't know him and I don't want to know him. But as a bureaucrat, that agency should have never been created. It is the Department of Redundancy Department of the United States of America of the United States. It shouldn't be here. And so getting rid of that can only be good. But, we have to look at these banks. These banks need to be broken up. And we need Glass-Steagall to come back. I mean, I totally believe that.
Well, that's another thing. Has Trump mentioned anything about Glass-Steagall? I haven't talked about Glass-Steagall in quite a while, actually.
Yeah, haven't heard it lately since he got elected, I'm afraid. But hey, there's always hope. We don't know what's going to happen with that yet. But so Dodd-Frank doing away with that can only be a positive. But you've got to put something in place because these banks are malignant, one cell, they're like amoebas that they just keep reproducing. They become these blobs that just destroy everything in their path. I mean, we know this. This is why we had Glass-Steagall passed in the first place, because they're cancerous. When they're not controlled, they metastasize and they destroy everything that they come into contact with. This isn't a new thing. You know it. I know it. History.
But Kerry, they support the whole economy. They're too big to fail.
Yeah, well, that's the problem because they metastasize. It's like, a terminal patient, all their cells are have metastasized, so you can't cut out the cancer because they'll die. Well, that's what these banks have become, and this is a bad thing, Jason. You know it. So you gotta do something with these guys, with these banks, or we're just gonna have the next blowout, and that means derivatives too. So Larry Kotlikoff, he wants to academics, man, guys who've never been in the private sector. They got these wonderful sounding plans.
He's been on my show twice, Lawrence Kotlikoff.
Yeah, well, he wants to create a paramutual system where everybody can just put their money into derivatives and it's in a pool and the winner just takes it. It just sounds great in theory, but just like I can't win at the racetrack, I know I won't be able to win at that casino because they'll have it fixed, right?
Well, the insiders always get the fix.
Right, so forget that. No, but I think overall Trump, even though he's hiring old Goldman Sachs guys, they're guys who haven't been in the loop for quite a while with them.
Okay, so all of the criticism about how Trump said he would drain the swamp and, everybody's saying, well, he's not draining the swamp, he's inviting the same people in. Well, folks, what is he supposed to do? Get a bunch of inexperienced people on his cabinet? He doesn't have experience as a politician. So, he's got financial. Who's he supposed to do? What's he supposed to do? Hire Jason Hartman?
That's not a bad idea. If you go there, I'll go there, Jason. You and me, we could go there together.
You have to hire some of these insider crony people. Listen, I don't like them, but when he talks about draining the swamp, there's a lot more to it.
There's another reason.
Cabinet, okay.
Another big reason why he has to do this, Jason. We're precariously perched here. You can't, by any stretch of the imagination, say that everything is stable and go humming along well. If there's another black swan that hits and things start to fall apart, do you want outsiders in there who really don't know how the system works to try to start figuring out how we're going to save it?
You've got to wean off of this stuff. You're not going to do it in a day or a month or a year. The system has been in place for decades and decades and decades, it's a process, folks.
God, okay? I want him to be able to call up Lloyd Blankfein, who's doing God's work, and say, you got to make a deal with the devil here, Lloyd, real quick.
He and Jamie Dimon, right?
Or you're going to jail. You guys better make a deal with the devil or you're going to jail tomorrow. I want that guy to have their direct line. We don't have a choice, right?
No.
What choice do we have? We're in, and Trump is a realist, a pragmatist, first and foremost. So he knows the way this works. So, hey, I'm guardedly optimistic. There are things that are going to happen you and I are not going to like because we're libertarians at heart and we don't want the government running stuff. But we're not living in a libertarian world, let's face it, are we?
Hey, but folks, no matter what, it's better than the alternative. We could have the criminal known as Hillary Clinton coming into office in January. So at least we didn't have that.
Be grateful for small favors. Man.
Yeah, that's a big win already. Even if you don't love or support Trump, just by being part of the not Hillary clan, I think you're in pretty good shape.
It would have been an unmitigated disaster and crony capitalism and a major depression and probably World War III. And I'm not exaggerating. A no-fly zone over Syria. Why don't you just say, let's have a war with Russia?
Yeah, I know.
Insane.
Yeah.
So, hey,
Hillary and Putin didn't get along too well, but hey, Putin fixed the election in favor of Trump, right?
Hey, so it can't be all bad.
Even if that actually is true, which I really doubt it's true.
No.
But even if it is true, think about it. To what end did he fix the election, or was the election hacked so that we could avoid going to war with each other? Okay, I'll take that. It's, that's okay.
Hey. You know what? If he got Trump in there and saved us from Hillary, he can't be all bad, right?
And I don't love Putin either.
He's a killer, a stone cold killer.
I've done a lot of anti-Putin shows. So.
No, we don't like him. He's killed people in the United States. He's had people killed here. No, there's nothing to like about this KGB stone killer. But even he might be better than Hillary. We don't know. So
we don't know, but we know Hillary's a criminal. So
we know she's pure evil. pure evil, and he only might be part evil. So, hey, we got this incredible giveaway for Meet the Masters.
We haven't done a giveaway. You know, Kerry, we have not done a giveaway on your show since March.
Yeah, that's scary.
Wow. It's been a long time. That's been a long, long time. So it is time to do one. And we've got the event you have attended in the past, Kerry, and that is
maybe I'll make it this time.
We only do this once a year. This is our Meet the Masters of Income Property event. It's in Southern California in January. It is the day after the inauguration. Okay, so if you're not going to the Trump's inauguration, you're not spending $40,000 per night for a hotel room in Washington, then come out to beautiful, sunny Southern California. And this is in Irvine, California in January.
That's a great event.
And here is our awesome special offer. You always twist my arms for these deals for your listeners, Kerry.
Absolutely.
So we're giving away 2 sets of free tickets for your listeners. We have a special domain name, jasonhartman.com/Lutz, L-U-T-Z, Kerry's last name, jasonhartman.com/Lutz. 2 sets of free tickets. That means for a couple, domestic partners, whatever you got going, bring a friend. It doesn't matter. 2 sets of tickets. That's 2 people each for free. And then everybody who enters will receive an email offer with a supremely ginormous discount, the biggest discount we're offering. So if you sign up and you don't win the 2 sets of free tickets, then you will be offered a big, giant discount on that event. jasonhartman.com/Lutz. Kerry, do you want to tell people about that event a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Well, I went there 2 years ago, I think it was. And, well, amazing thing was I must have seen, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars worth of real estate change hands at that event. Okay, first of all.
That's what we do.
and I saw, at least 7 or 8 of you FSN community members there. So that was really cool. I love that. Meeting you out there, people who found Jason through the Financial Survival Network. That was really a lot of fun. One person, Karen, who I stayed in contact with. It was just an all-around great time, camaraderie. You have people that have been going to this thing, Jason, for years and years. That was what amazed me also. And of course, I got to meet your great dog, Coco, who's a real sweetheart.
That's the best part. Yeah, Coco.
Yeah, Coco is just great. And it was just a wonderful experience. All these people who'd been going there for years and years together just had an incredible time. And I got to see you in action, and really appreciate your depth of knowledge and your experience in putting this together. It was really an amazing experience. I don't know how to describe it. It was just fun from the moment I got there to the moment I left. And it was so useful. You go to some conferences and you just say, what am I doing here? What is the point of this?
I've been to those, yeah.
Who brought me here? Who the hell talked me into coming to this damn thing?
Right.
You're like ready to start screaming. And then, you go to something like yours and it's just pure value from managing your affairs, accountants you had there,
asset protection,
retirement planning, estate planning. It was, I can't say enough good things about it, and you're not paying me to say good things about it. This is just from my experience.
Well, yeah, and you paid to come to that event.
I did pay.
You bought a ticket like everybody else.
Yeah, and it was totally worth it. And
good.
If I can make it this year, I will. I think
this is our once a year event.
Yeah.
It's our biggest event of the year. It only happens once a year. It's in January in sunny Southern California. So yeah, if any of you listening want to make it a little vacation, it's right next to Disneyland. If you want to bring your family, you got San Diego, SeaWorld, Los Angeles, all of this kind of stuff right nearby. This is right smack dab in the middle of it in Irvine, California in January. jasonhartman.com/Lutz, Lutz, and register to win free tickets. And if you don't win, you'll get a giant discount in your email box.
Yeah, if you can go there, it's worth it. You will learn more in a couple of days about real estate than you ever thought possible. I mean,
People from around the world come to this event. Our clients have flown from Australia, Japan, a couple different places in Europe, one in the Middle East before came to this event. So, they fly across the world to come to this thing. And our local market specialists and property management teams and people that provide properties in the different markets we recommend around the country, we fly all of them in to talk to you, and they, you can meet their teams, learn about their properties, learn about their investments. So it's just a great thing. Make sure you register, get some free tickets. If you don't, you'll get a big fat discount offered to you shortly after entering. jasonhartman.com/Lutz.
Yeah. And like I say, just check it out. Enter. If you win it, you get the passes for nothing. It's totally worth it. You're going to be happy you went there. It really is an amazing experience, and it's not something I say lightly. Jason, hey, thanks so much for going over the Trump-phoria results here. Really helped me put it in perspective. There's a lot to look forward to. Like you always say, it's an amazing time to be alive. It's even more amazing now because I think that freedom is the biggest beneficiary of what we just went through.
Yeah, I think so too. The mainstream media has lost a lot of credibility, and that's a wonderful thing. And, I think Trump is going to be really good for real estate. So it's a good time to be building your portfolio, folks. So come to our event in January. If not, listen to my podcast, The Creating Wealth Show. You can find it on any podcast platform. Just search Jason Hartman. And Kerry, thanks for having me. Happy investing to you and your listeners.
And they're not the mainstream anymore. They're the legacy. The legacy media. And the next election, they might not even exist in their current form. Think about that. That'll be a wonderful thing.
Those elite snobs in the mainstream media. I love it.
Can't wait.
They need to be put in their place. So I think this election was a good step in that direction. So good stuff. Hey, we'll talk to you soon, Kerry.
All right, Jason. Be well.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.